Well, I'm not going to lie, guys. The beginning of that romantic piece right there sounded a bit murdery, like someone's going to get murdered, like creepy, like a horror movie. Well, anyway, welcome back. This is, we're still in chapter 12, and what we're going to start off with is what I should have finished the other day, but I didn't want to keep you guys longer than I kept you, so I cut it off, all right? So we're still going to finish up the last essential question, which was how did, like, Britain, Austria, Russia, Prussia, how do they deal with challenges to conservatism, okay? So we didn't get to Great Britain, so let's start with that first. We're going to do 2 slides, and then after that, we're going to do a new essential question, okay? So let's start with Great Britain and reform. How do the British deal with conservative challenges, all right? So problems with Ireland. Well, you guys should know by now from the last thing of notes that Great Britain passed the Act of Union in 1800, and what that did was it banned the British Parliament from ever meeting again, but it did allow Irish people to be a part of the British. Wait, did I say ban the British Parliament or the Irish Parliament? It banned the Irish Parliament, but what it did do was let Irish people sit on the British Parliament. And what they were trying to do is kind of basically take over Ireland, all right? So this made Ireland a part of what's called the United Kingdom, or the UK. It's also called Great Britain, all right? Which is England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland, okay? So the Act of Union, like I said, brought Ireland into the empire of Great Britain, all right? Now, here's the deal, though. When I say it allowed Irish people to be in the British Parliament, it only allowed Irish Protestants to hold seats in British Parliament. You see, here's the problem. Ireland is hugely Catholic. And that's one of the reasons they don't want to be ruled by Britain. One of the many reasons. Another reason is, if you go back to Oliver Cromwell during the English Civil War, Cromwell invaded Ireland and did horrible massacres against Irish people because they supported the enemies of Cromwell. But anyway, so the Irish have plenty of reasons to hate English. All right. But like I said, being a part of England does have its benefits because Great Britain is one of the most powerful nations in the world. But like I said, only Irish Protestants could hold seats. Now, Irish Catholics are kind of pissed off at that. All right. They're still kind of persecuting Catholics. All right. So basically, like I said, Ireland is now part of Great Britain. But like I just said, the Irish are mostly Catholic. So there's going to be a problem. Now remember, Ireland has nationalism. There's a huge part of Ireland that does not want to be a part of Great Britain. They want their independence. And guys, this has been going on for over 200 years. The English slowly taking over Ireland. And now in 1800, it's finally happened. Okay. Now, like I did say, in 1918, at the end of World War I, the Irish are going to break away. Okay. But anyway, nationalism, right? Okay, so Daniel O'Connell. This guy is an Irish Catholic, and he gets elected to Parliament in 1829. You see, the Irish kind of have a scheme, all right? Their goal is to run a guy for Parliament and have him get elected, but he's Catholic. And then the theory is the British will refuse to seat the guy that they want to be in Parliament, and then Ireland will have a great reason to rebel. Does that scheme make sense, guys? Because they don't want Catholics on there, so Ireland says, ha ha ha, let's elect a Catholic to the British Parliament. So here comes Daniel O'Connell. In 1829, he gets elected to Parliament, and Ireland's like, oh, this is going to be it. They're going to reject him and we'll have a reason to rebel. And Great Britain responds by passing what's called the Catholic Emancipation Act. All right? Emancipation, guys, means freedom. So, what this did was it said Catholics are now going to be allowed in British Parliament. So do you catch what the British just did? You see, the Irish tried to force them into a situation where they would not elect the Catholic, not let him sit in Parliament, and then that would give Ireland a reason to rebel. But what did Great Britain respond by doing? Legalizing Catholics to be on Parliament. Now you might say, wow, that was very liberal of Great Britain to do that, to allow a Catholic on the British Parliament. But was it really a liberal thing? Think about it. It was actually kind of a conservative thing. You see, by allowing Catholics to sit in Parliament, they avoided a revolution. Does that make sense, guys? Did I just blow your mind? Well, anyway, bottom line is Great Britain and Ireland get along, at least for a while, although Ireland still is angry and full of nationalism. But they avoid right there an Irish revolution, all right, by allowing this guy to sit in Parliament. All right? Pause if you need to. It helps avoid an Irish rebellion. Okay, anyway. All right, now, the Great Reform Bill of 1832. Now, here, guys, is where Great Britain is going to take an even bigger step forward. You see, Great Britain realizes, you know what, if we just give reasonable people reasonable rights, we can pretty much avoid revolution. And as a matter of fact, guys, Great Britain is going to do just that. So with the Great Reform Bill of 1832, it was passed by Parliament and it granted urban areas in England suffrage. You see, there was a lot of areas in England that had a lot of working class people, all right? And what this did pretty much is give more working class people the right to vote. You see, guys, even in England, a pretty liberal area, they've had pretty much upper middle class wealthy people that are members of Parliament and the right to vote. But now they are allowing more people suffrage, okay? So now more people are enfranchised. So the word enfranchised, guys, means they are given the right to vote. If you are disenfranchised, that means you have the right to vote taken away from you. So more people are now enfranchised. And think about it, guys. One of the reasons why revolutions are going to happen is because the people at the bottom are ignored and they don't have a voice. Well, Great Britain's getting rid of that excuse to rebel. So this is going to help Great Britain, along with other things, avoid the revolutions that are going to happen in the next 2 or 3 chapters. Okay? So look how Great Britain is dealing with challenges to conservative order. They're adapting what they do, and they're slowly and gradually becoming liberal. Does that make sense? All right. Pause if you need to, and let's start the next essential question. Now, that's where the notes should have ended the other day. But like I said, I was going on and on and on and on, and I've already been 7 minutes. Now, I will keep going. So let's start off our next essential question, guys, in our final one of chapter 12. What sparked the wars for independence in Latin America? So, we've already talked about a few revolutions that have happened in Europe. We've talked about the Greeks revolting against the Ottomans and then the Serbians revolting against the Ottomans. We talked about a revolution in Spain and a revolution in France. Well, it's not just Europe that's going to get these revolutions. It's also going to be Latin America. So I'm talking about Central America, Mexico, South America, and Latin America. Okay? So let's try to find out what sparked these wars for independence. Pause if you need to. All right, Latin American independence. Well, we haven't talked about this really in a long time, but when we first started the class, one of the most powerful nations in Europe, there were 2, were Spain and Portugal. In Spain and Portugal, I want to throw this out here because I've been looking at AP questions, and they use the word the Iberian Peninsula. And I want you guys to know what that means. So, look on a map. A peninsula is a body of land that's surrounded on 3 sides by water. Well, if you look at Spain and Portugal, they are a peninsula. And as a matter of fact, the Iberian Peninsula is what is called where Spain and Portugal are. All right? So if you guys remember, Spain and Portugal were the first 2 nations to come to the Americas, right? The Portuguese were the first to go around the coast of Africa and get into Asia, and they set up that first big empire that later the Dutch take over, and then later the British take over. All right? Then Spain, Yeah, Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella, the king and queen, are going to allow Columbus to sail for them, and Columbus is the one to reach the Americas, right? And after that, the Spanish and the Portuguese start to colonize the Americas. Yes? That's kind of where we left off, the Columbian Exchange, all that stuff, right? Well, we haven't really talked about Mexico and South America since then. So in the 1800s, you're going to see Spain and Portugal are about to lose control of Latin America. So this is not only the era of revolutions in Europe, it's the era of revolutions in Latin America too. Because people in Latin America are connected to Europe and they're going to hear about these revolutions, they're going to hear about the Enlightenment, they're going to be inspired by these revolutions, and they're going to want to do the same thing. So, before you know what causes the revolutions, you need to know a little bit of background about Latin America. So, let's talk about South America and Mexico, all right? And, well, just Latin America in general, all right? So, guys, we're talking about here. So, if you look, guys, the British control right here, well, actually, it's the United States. But basically, New Spain, guys, was Mexico, California. You'll learn later on in U.S. history that the United States takes a lot of that. And then down here, guys, the purple is Portugal. They control Brazil. And then, guys, once again, all the green pretty much is Spain, okay? All right, so Latin American society has a social hierarchy. Now, once again, guys, this is one of those vocab words. A hierarchy just means a way that society is like ranked. You've got people at the top and you've got people at the bottom. For instance, in the French Revolution, the hierarchy went like nobles, church, clergy, and then peasant, bourgeoisie, peasants at the bottom. That's the hierarchy. So it's kind of similar in Latin America. So at the very top, you've got these people called the Peninsulares. The Peninsulares were Spaniards that were born in Spain. They live in Spain, but they come over to New Spain in the Americas to govern and control. All right? So these people would have been like the nobles of France. Okay? Now, the next people down you have are Crayolas, all right? Now, Crayolas are full-blood Spaniards just as much as the Peninsulares are, but the Crayolas were born in the Americas. So they were born in the Americas, but they're still full-blood Spanish. Now, here's the deal. They're kind of the middle class, all right? Peninsulares are the nobles. They've got privilege. They've got power. And the Crayolas, even though they're still full-blood Spaniards, are treated by the Peninsulares as a lower class. So these would be the equivalent of like the bourgeoisie in the French Revolution, all right? Okay, a very similar equivalent, the Crayolas. But once again, they're full-blood Spanish. Now, next down would have been mestizos. Mestizos would have been if you are full-blood Spanish and you had children with a Native American, then you would have had mestizo or mixed children, all right? Below that, you would have had Native Americans and then slaves, all right, African Americans, okay? So that's how the hierarchy worked. Now, mestizos, Native Americans, and slaves had very little rights and very little privileges. These were the people at the bottom, okay? The Crayoles would have been the middle class, all right? And like I said, the Peninsulares would have been like the nobles, all right? Not literally, I mean, yeah, kind of, okay? All right, so that's how the situation's set up. Now, just like in the French Revolution, guys, the Crayoles are going to be the one that are going to lead the revolution, just like the bourgeoisie led the revolution in France, all right, against the Peninsulares. Okay? Does that make sense? Pause if you need to. All right, so Crayoles rebel. So they're educated, the Crayoles are, they're middle class, they hear of the Enlightenment, they know of the Enlightenment, they resent the power and the privileges of the Peninsulares, just like the bourgeoisie were upset about the power and privileges of the nobles in France, all right? So I'm making those connections to kind of help you understand. It's a very similar situation. So, like I said, they understand the Enlightenment ideas, they know about the French Revolution, they know about the American Revolution, and they're inspired by those revolutions. So they themselves are going to take these ideas and they're going to make it work for them. Now there's one more factor that's going to allow them to break away from Europe. Napoleon. Guys, when Napoleon took over Europe, he took over Spain and Portugal too. All right? So the Crayoles in the New World are going to use this time period where the Spanish and Portuguese are weak because they're dominated by Napoleon to kind of break away shortly after. They're going to use this weakness. Now, they're not going to do it during Napoleon's rule, but after Napoleon leaves and they're pushed out, that's when they're going to break away because they're at their weakest. Okay? So, In Latin America, there's actually two groups of people. In South America, I'm sorry. In South America, there's actually two people. One of them's name is José de San Martín, and the other guy's name is Simón Bolívar. All right? So both of these guys, one of them, Martín, is in the northern part of South America, and Bolívar is in the southern part of North America. And what these guys do they are going to basically rebel against Spain. All right? They're going to mass these big armies, and like I said, the Spanish and Portuguese are weakened after Napoleon, and they're going to use this advantage to kind of try to break away. All right? So, they are Creole military leaders, and their armies are going to liberate or free South America. Martín frees the north, all right? Simón Bolívar frees the south, and then they get together and they kind of meet. Now, they have a disagreement. And guys, it doesn't matter. I can't remember. Hold on, guys. I got to check this out. Hold on. Hold that thought, guys. Keep writing. Don't stop. Don't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. All that stuff. I got to check this out, guys, because one of them is conservative and one of them's liberal, and I can't remember which. It'll take me like 1 minute to figure it out, all right? Don't worry, guys. Yes, I'm looking at the book. Mr. Lohan doesn't know everything. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, so José de San Martín was conservative, and when they get together and meet with their armies, basically they're like, Martín's like, we should make a monarchy, and Bolívar's like, we should make a republic, and they kind of walk away disagreeing, but bottom line is, they liberate South America, all right? Now, you might think, wow, that's it is nationalism because Latin America are like rebelling against Spain, so there is some nationalism, but here's the deal. These guys are Spanish. I mean, think about it. They're Crayolas. They're full-blood Spanish. So it's more of not a nationalist revolution, but you might go to say, well, then it's a liberal revolution. But then again, really it's not, because here's the deal. You know what South America becomes after they leave? A conservative government. All right? Okay? So, hey, new country, but it's under conservative leaders. All right? Because I'm pretty sure Bolívar retires and San Martín becomes the leader for a while, all right? So anyway, it's a conservative revolution. But they break away from Spain, and now they're going to be kind of their own little areas. And other countries are going to break away, like, Argentina is going to become a country, and Bolivia is going to become a country, and all these countries, whatever, all right? So anyway, pause if we need to. All right, now, Mexico. Okay, so in 1810, there's a Spanish priest named Father Miguel Hidalgo. And once again, Mexico's under control of Spain. And he issues a call called the Cry of Dolores. That's what they call it. And he issues this call for all Indian and Mestizo people to rise up and take over Mexico and overthrow Spanish rule. Now, here's the deal. He gets an army of about 80,000 people. All right. He goes against Spain, but there are some wealthy Creoles and Peninsulares that help put the revolution down. Now you might think, well, why would these guys stop Spain? Wouldn't they want to break away too? Well, here's the deal. Father Miguel Hidalgo wanted to do some pretty liberal things. Number one, he wanted to get rid of slavery. That's a liberal idea. Number two, he wanted to break up all the wealthy landowners' property and give it to everybody equally. That's a liberal idea. So that would have hurt the Creoles and the Peninsulares because they would have been the one that held the land, right? So they worked together to kind of stop this from happening. Much in the same way, guys, that the French were very much afraid of giving the people at the bottom political rights, okay? So he is defeated, he's executed. But Creoles and Peninsulares realize, all right, that Spain might try to crack down on Mexico. So the Creoles and Peninsulares unite together under General Agustín de Iturbide, and then Agustín de Iturbide, which is a royal general, declares Mexican independence in 1821. He says, we're breaking away, all right? So Mexico gets their independence. Now, check this out. That's Iturbide. Immediately, guys, Iturbide makes himself Emperor of Mexico. So is that a conservative revolution or a liberal revolution? If you said conservative, you're right. Think about it. You've got conservative people breaking away from Spain so that the more liberal people at the bottom don't have a revolution and take over. So they're trying to prevent that from happening. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So now you've got an emperor of Mexico. Pause if you need to. Oh, wait. So a revolution happened, but it was conservative. Pause if you need to. All right, now, a couple more things. Brazil. Now, we haven't talked about Brazil hardly at all, but Brazil is controlled by Portugal. So during Napoleon's reign, Dom João, by the way, Dom is like Don, like, oh, there's Don. It's like a title, all right? Dom João the Fourth, all right? By the way, João in Portuguese is like John. So John the Fourth of Portugal is the king. When Napoleon took over Europe, King John the Fourth, João the Fourth, fled with the entire royal family to Brazil. That's their biggest colony. They moved the entire capital of Portugal to Brazil. Kind of weird because Napoleon was taking over, right? So they ruled Brazil for a while. Brazil became very powerful. There's Dom João. Very wealthy. And then Napoleon was defeated. So here's what's interesting, guys. After Napoleon was defeated, Dom João, the king, King John, returned to Portugal to rule. But he left his son Dom Pedro, all right, in charge of Brazil. So the Prince of Portugal is in charge of Brazil. Now what happens, guys, long story short, Dom Pedro gets involved with nationalists in Brazil. And one day, guys, in 1822, Dom Pedro tells his father, hey, Brazil's breaking away and becoming its own independent nation. And that's how, guys, Brazil breaks away. Now, they're still ruled by a king, Dom Pedro. So is it conservative or is it liberal? It's conservative, right? And another reason it's conservative too is because Great Britain, when they helped kick Napoleon out of Portugal, Great Britain wanted to free all slaves in the British Empire, and the Portuguese didn't want to free their slaves. So that's another reason, guys, Brazil broke away. They didn't want to be a part of Spain and have to free their slaves. So very conservative, yes? Pause if you need to. All right, last thing. So you might be asking yourself, why doesn't the Concert of Europe just send their armies to Latin America and take it back over? Well, one reason is they're conservative governments, all right? But here's another reason. When these countries break away, Great Britain gets really excited. They're like, oh, we can trade with South America and make a lot of money. So Great Britain immediately, when these countries break away, recognize their independence. Now, Great Britain's slowly becoming the most powerful nation in the world. And when they recognize Latin American independence, they basically say, hey, no more fighting. We want to trade with these guys. And because they're powerful and nobody wants to fight Great Britain, they leave Latin America alone. But there's one other reason. You see, the United States is slowly becoming a powerful force to be reckoned with. And in 1823, after the Latin American revolutions happened, the United States gets afraid that Spain and Portugal are going to send their armies over to the Americas and try to take it back. So President James Monroe in 1823 issues what's called the Monroe Doctrine. And what he says to Europe, he makes this blanket statement and he says, hey, from now on, the Americas are off limits to any Europeans that want to colonize. No more Europeans over here. All right? Now, kind of a threat. Could we have backed it up? Probably not. But we issued that statement. Great Britain wants to trade the most powerful nation in the world in Latin America. So, guys, the Concert of Europe lets it go down. And Latin America, guys, stays independent. But they stay conservatively independent. All right? So, guys, that's the end of the notes. Have a great 3-day weekend. I'll see you when we get back. Don't forget to do your key terms and people for Chapter 12 also. Quiz on Tuesday. Peace out.